Good to be back. Looking forward to this game here. I will say that I'm a little torn because as much as I would love to see this match go the distance and see Titan, who I've cast oh so many times, triumph. If we do end this game soon enough, I think that we'll be jumping immediately into IG versus Vici.
Okay.
According to Invictus Gaming, at least they're delayed 45 minutes. I have no idea if they're planning to actually
10
do a
seconds
simulcast
remaining.
or if we're just gonna jump into game two after. But for now, we
5
get this
seconds
matchup ahead of
remaining.
us, and it's going to be another one to look forward to. I mean, obviously, the other by
Reserve
just the,
time.
the hard carry potential of the Naga Siren and illusion play, but none of that nonsense this game. Team Malaysia bans it out in the first phase.
Yeah, no Naga Cyber, no Terrorblade either.
Alliances
Removed from the
turn
pool,
to
and it looks
pick.
like we're in for a well, of course, a whole new game, but a whole different game because Skywrath Mage and Vengeful Spirit, first two pickups, I believe both were completely ignored in the previous game. So, well, I'm ready for it. Vengeful Spirit is, from my point of view, my favorite in this case because we've seen Vengeful Spirits played in a lot of
Dire
different
team
roles, at
pick.
least in the European scene. We've seen him played, or her played rather, as a core or as a support, and heavy roaming support. Vengeful Spirit is often mentioned, like if you're talking about heavy roaming supports, Vengeful Spirit is often mentioned in those cases because she has got, of course, she brings a solid disable. She has got the minus armor as well, which got buffed, so that's great. And she has a pretty decent movement speed as well.
10
So
seconds
Yeah,
remaining.
definitely agree with that. Very, very versatile as well as powerful
Dire
in her own
team
right.
ban.
And we're going to see her paired up with Chessie's Viper. Once again, Chessie played immaculately on the Viper before, actually was controlling the lane and got a solo kill against Muxi's Shadow Fiend, which is definitely something to be proud of. So him just kind of showing what he can accomplish with the hero. And it's really
10
the anchor
seconds
that's going to
remaining.
be allowing them to move about in the early fights. They're going to be revolving
5
around him, making
seconds
sure that he
remaining.
stays alive throughout the fight as long as possible and is able to dish out all damage long
Reserve
term, whether it
time.
be physical through the nether toxin and the negative aura or negative armor that you mentioned, or if it's just going to be some simple magical Viper Strike poison attack damage to bring the lower HP heroes down. In either case, Team Malaysia, they're going to try to at least control the fights a little bit better with the Centaur. If the Viper Strike or Magic Missile had their way, then they can, of course, either Blink
Alliances
Dodge
turn to
or
ban.
Stampede away to get themselves in a better position.
yeah, I really like the sensor pickup here as well because we've seen how much annoyance that
Dire
Viper brings if he
team
has an
ban.
Aghanims with the slow of the Viper Strike constantly, and of course the Stampede. Like, screw all that movement speed slow, we're just gonna run, and there's nothing you can do to stop it unless you can stun us, in which case Vengeful Spirit, of course, there. So, you know, at least it's a good counter to the Viper. I really like the
10
hero itself
seconds
as well.
remaining.
Offers a lot of potential in both disengaging and engaging, which
5
is
seconds remaining.
something that we saw in the previous game. At some point we had a fight bottom where nobody actually died,
Reserve time.
and it was very, like the force staff, for example, saved Misery there, but it was very clear to see that the teams were very cautious in terms of trying to find someone out of position, getting that positioning like perfect. And with Centaur, you can completely change the game plan and make sure that your enemy doesn't have a chance to back off if things aren't the way they like it to be. You can just run at them anyways, which is something that I think Team Malaysia will definitely use. Centaur offlane, most likely.
Alliances turn
Not
to
real
ban.
much else to say about that. We don't know yet. Like they're not giving a
Alliances
lot
turn
away,
to
these two
pick.
teams so far. I mean, even in terms of bans, we have got a Tidehunter and a Jakiro, so that means like some team fight removed from the pool, and of course Centaur. If you are gonna try and run him on the off lane, you don't want him to run up against a solo safe lane that can completely crush you, which is what a Tidehunter theoretically could do because of that anchor smash. And Jakiro removed
10
because all
seconds remaining.
of the slow. I would guess the ice path's just overall an annoying hero to deal with,
5
and
seconds
follows up
remaining.
nicely with the Vengeful Spirit. But overall, they're not really giving a lot away of what they want to do.
Yeah, the bans here
Reserve
are
time.
really magically based entirely. That shows the Team Malaysia don't want to go for BKBs too early on their core heroes. Against Venge, who already has Swap that pierces, the Viper Strike pierces, and the physical damage that's going to be coming out will, of course, go through as well. And it's not a lineup you want to go BKBs outright against, but with the Jakiro or
Dire
the
team
Tide,
pick.
that might be a necessity. Either way, the Beastmaster, another counter to the BKBs, and makes it so that Malaysia really just want to get an all-around strong hero. I actually saw it earlier in Starlight or Europe that there was a pickup of a couple of Medusas, and they were actually really good. It's one of my favorite heroes that doesn't rely on BKB, another one being the Morphling. So maybe one of those could be an option, but we'll see what Malaysia have up their sleeve. There's also the
10
possibility of them
seconds
running a
remaining.
safe lane #1 position centaur. It actually, I think I've seen it more
5
often in
seconds
Mushi's hands
remaining.
than I have seen it in Ohio. So it's difficult to call, but if they did go for that, they'd get the
Reserve
blink
time.
dagger on him a little bit earlier, and they'd pick up something that can maneuver a little bit, I guess, more actively towards the early stages, like Ohio's Nature's Prophet, which is still in the pool. So maybe it is, and indeed, Ohio's Centaur Warrunner, and that's perfectly fine. We've seen it work that way time and time again. But if they want to mix it up a little bit, a Furion pickup on top of what they already have might be the way to go. For now, it's going to be the Veno, some great magical damage
Alliance's
output,
turn to
and
pick.
obviously a lot of control.
Yeah, and if they would go for the center on the safe lane, would you imagine they go for an aggressive tri lane? Then on top of it, to have like the center on the safe lane soloing the lane, because I think he might be able to, and then have an aggressive tri lane going on. What do you reckon?
It depends on Alliance's core hero, what Loda picks up. If it is like a #1 position Venge, then you don't really want to try against that. But if it is just something that's a
10
little
seconds
greedier, like we
remaining.
saw with the Naga Siren and Terrorblade that have been banned out, then it's something they might want to put pressure on. For now, Venge
Dire team
Visage
pick.
is not a combo you want to go up against outright. And I'm assuming we'll see a Drow ban, so that's probably not going to be on the table. But in this position, I like aggro tries in the current Dire terrain right now because I was talking about that smoke movement and stuff like that. I feel that honestly, a Suicide Lane Dire hero is going to have a really bad time unless A, the pull is blocked off, or B, you have people with TPs ready to
10
rotate and
seconds
try to bail you
remaining.
out. But in this case, right now, it definitely seems like it's going to be the roaming
5
support
seconds
Skywrath. I
remaining.
think it'll be a core Venomancer, and we'll have to see for the follow through if they're going to be
Reserve
playing the
time.
Centaur in the hands of Ohio.
Yeah, we've seen Venomancer played in core a bit more recently, and offlane as well as mid lane. Safe lane is sometimes if
Alliance's
he's solo,
turn to
but
ban.
Venomancer, if you were to mention like the offlane off the Dire side, is gonna have a tough time. No surprise. Vengeful Spirit Visage, like, yeah, you don't want to touch that if you can help it. Venomancer is not a hero with a disable, or rather, you know, he
10
can run.
seconds remaining.
It's gonna be a tricky lane if he ends up going for the offlane.
5 seconds remaining.
With the Razor now picked up as well, do you have any idea how Malaysia is gonna lane this?
Reserve time.
I think KOXY will probably pick up the Razor for the mid lane to go up against the Viper. They both have merits as far as their 1v1 potential on those heroes. And they do want to get solo experience with the Razor. Like, we have seen tri-lanes with the Lightning Revenant in the past, but they don't want it here. They want more points in Eye of the Storm early so that the Eye of the Storm can actually tick down the Visage Familiars. That's one of the major reasons he's picked up here. That, and there's a lot of single target spells, and obviously the passive really comes into play when you're just dishing out all these focus target type spells on him specifically. But I think they do
Dire
best
team
picking up another support here for Team Malaysia, and hopefully one that gives them a little bit of survivability. Because one thing that's really good about Visage up against a Venomancer is even if you get a couple of heroes afflicted by the Poison Nova, that's just fueling your Soul Assumption. You get
Alliance's
kind of
turn
machine
to
gun
pick.
Soul Assumption that just deals so much magical damage. And if you don't have something that can build up at least a mechanism towards the early 15 to 20 minute stages of the game, then you're going to be in for some hurt.
Yeah, and it looks like Alliance is agreeing with you. They at least ban out the Ogre Magi support that can definitely help Team Malaysia in both ways, be more aggressive, and also the running part. You've got, of course, the Ignite, slowing
10
people down,
seconds remaining.
Bloodlust, speeding other people up, and of course the stun coming out as well. I'm
5
actually
seconds
mostly
remaining.
surprised that Team Malaysia is not banning out the Drow, and I guess there's a reason to it.
Reserve
Obviously,
time.
if Alliance wanted to really get the Drow, they could have done so if they had
Dire
that plan. They
team
could have done
pick.
so with the Beastmaster and the Visage together. So Malaysia was probably no longer expecting the Drow, because otherwise, you know, it would have been picked up already. So they end up banning out the Sven instead. Fortunately, it's not the one that Alliance really wanted to go for by the looks of things, or at least Spectre is the one that they go for. And, well, you know, it's a really great hero, don't get me wrong. It's not one of my favorites, though. Although we do know that Alliance normally
10
is
seconds
one of the
remaining.
teams that use Spectre quite aggressively. From, like,
5
phase
seconds
drums,
remaining.
minute say, or level 6 onwards, actually being involved in fights. But like, if this goes late, it's
Reserve
not going to be the
time.
most exciting game ever.
I suppose not, but I mean, the tempo of the supports, Venge and Visage, is going to be pretty active here. Beastmaster, almost on cooldown, can find a kill with the Roar, and Whether or not the Spectre's going to be interesting, Team Malaysia certainly spice it up a bit
Yep,
here.
thank you.
Meepo is going to be played by KYXY here. Yeah, I've seen his Meepo a couple times and is actually really, really good. Obviously, they wouldn't pick it up for him otherwise, but this leads the Centaur to be almost a support pickup unless they're swapping roles as well, and that just makes things ever so complicated.
Yeah, I'm actually thinking, like, in the past, and when I'm saying in the past, I actually mean 2 years ago or something, Centaur. Well, when that's Centaur wasn't out then, but when Centaur first came into the game, he was often also jungled. Now it's going very slow and it's very much less than ideal, but he has got that option. I'm not too sure what I think about a Centaur support though. I'm normally a
10
fan of him when he
seconds
gets his Blink
remaining.
Dagger up and he can go all crazy very early on, but he can't do that if he's in a support role.
5
And
seconds remaining.
I mean, they are not that low on pushing potential, but overall, that's what you would look towards if you are gonna have the like the extra gold that a support would get. You get that from towers, so a Blink Dagger for net is gonna be slow, but
Prepare
we'll
for
see. He picks
battle.
up boots first. He is gonna be the support here, as boots for the Venomancer as well. Load of boots coming out.
Yeah. Yeah, you won't run this lineup and look for the Centaur to be in a farming position. He isn't the best support in the sense that he has a very high mana cost stun, the same way that Sven does, but also very low base intelligence along with that. So they have to make the one stun that they're going to get in the early game count. He essentially gets the second one with the clarity, but yeah, you cannot miss that hoof stomp, and it's going to be extinct to try to set him up for that. But concussive shot into hoof stomp, maybe Mushi gets some static link on that. They have some real kill potential, but yeah, it's going to be obviously all eyes on KOXY and what he can accomplish with this Meepo. For now, it's going to be a smoke. Everybody but Meepo is in it, and they're just going to try to
30
find an
seconds
opening
to
in the
battle.
enemy jungle. In the meantime, if you want to introduce players, I'm going to go for a quick reconnect as I'm having some imperfect world server issues.
Okay. Well, for Team Malaysia, we see them smoking up with 3 instantly already. 4 players have picked up boots, and the one that didn't is a hero that is generally really fast. Skywrath Mage doesn't need boots to be fast. Extinct will play him. We have Ohio playing the Venomancer. Net will take on the Centaur War Runner. As we see them rotating, they won't
The
be able to
battle
find anybody.
begins.
Aki is too far away for that one. We've also got ourselves, of course, the mid laner Mushi playing the Razor. Also picking up boots because boots are cool. KWXY will play the Meepo. For now, he'll be by himself, but I would imagine the support's rotating towards him because he's not going to have a very easy lane. Taking a look at what Alliance is having here for laning scenarios, we've got Chessie in the middle lane once again playing the Viper. Will be, of course, he won for his Mushi last game. It will not be, I think it will be a bit more tricky against the Razor, but we'll see how well he can do. It's also a bit of rotation coming out, the sun coming out in Extinct, and they were not expecting Misery to be there in the Invis room. So they have the Skywrath Mage first blood on the board, and it is the tower that actually gets the last hit. It was a bit of an awkward rotation. Like, I saw them coming. I really didn't think they would go for that, because that was just not smart. Anyways, the rest of Alliance, Admiral Bulldog will play the Beastmaster. Solo safe lane for him for now up against the Venomancer. We'll get some help from Aki, who will play the Visage. And then the top lane is a dual lane with Misery rotating towards the top lane and Loda farming up there as well. And that will leave KYXY in a bit of a tough situation. 2 melee heroes up against this dual lane. Not ideal to say the least. And welcome back, Blaze.
Thank you very much.
Did
We're going
you
to be
get to see
seeing...
the first blood?
Unfortunately, I did not. So I'm seeing 3 assists. Who got the kill on that
The
one?
tower.
Okay, so it's split among 3. That's cool. But still the first blood gold going the way of Alliance, and that's pretty nice for them indeed. So, very interesting to see this aggressive dual lane stance from the Vengeful Spirit Spectre. And now they're going to make the rotation. This makes a little bit more sense. Loda's going to be going down bottom, finding a lot more secure farm down here because the offlane Venomancer, his job is essentially to turtle under the tower. He drops Plague Wards down, he stays within his tower radius, and he makes sure the tower doesn't fall. And that's going to be perfectly fine for Loda, who just wants to farm down the creep wave and build up some early items to fight with.
Gold for me.
Yeah, Ohio gets also the bounty rune. Underestimated how much that bounty rune does. Vengeful Spirit though with another rune. Who needs runes if you're in the middle lane? Ohio is gonna get slowed by the bear. Bulldog can't really dive that, but shows some aggression here already. And he of course should be the one to rotate towards the top lane. Doesn't get a TP, just gonna run. For the moment it's Misery that is on this top lane. Getting some experience. He should not die considering that the supports of Team Malaysia are kind of all over the place in the jungle rather than actually trying to actively do things on the lane. What a nice sword Extinct has, by the way, on this Skywrath. Just want to point that out. Golden one. But yeah, Beastmaster's on his way. I'm wondering if he can actually make something happen. I don't think so. He just should be here to get some experience. And maybe have Misery rotate bottom. He has got a smoke. Might try and make something happen with that. But at this point, I think that to be able to kill off the Razor mid, he'd need the help of Aki as well, who is right now busy with pooling in the jungle.
So it's actually the Spectre that I think has the upper hand against the Meepo in a lot of cases here, because you can haunt and get like an illusion for each individual Meepo clone. So it's a very big cooldown that Meepo has to be very aware of when he moves about the map. And I think it was a very smart counter pick. Up top, though.
No, Misery. Earthbound and killed off. And by KYXY with the hoof stump coming out from net. Of course, they've got some good synergy going off there. You've got the Earthbind, you've got the slow coming out from Extinct as well, and then you've got net following up with the hoof stump. There's really very little escape possibilities for anybody in this game, actually. Looking at the heroes.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to tell who's going to be taking the advantage as far as scalability is concerned, but as far as the early team fights, we're going to see a lot more activity from Alliance here. Ake is going to be dropping some damage onto Ohio. We'll get the Gale off, but man, 2 more right clicks, and that Soul Assumption would have been an easy kill onto the Venomancer, who, although he has okay base armor because he's an agility hero, he doesn't have the best as far as HP and HP regen, and he will be forced off the lane. We do see Centaur, on the other hand, will be picked off over towards the top rune spawn. Chessie definitely making the main contribution there.
Yeah, the one Meepo was there as well to see if they could help go for a gank. Wasn't able to do so. In the meantime, in the middle lane, wait a second, we have got another kill top indeed. It's the Lone Druid, or the Admiral Bulldog that dies. Lone Druid, wow, I'm not even in the game, Sheever. Okay.
Well, it is Admiral Bulldog after all, but yeah, it's just a lot of overextensions right now. It's people being in positions they could find opportunities in, and so that's why they're there, but they're underrating the potential of the enemy to just pin them down and get enough to lock them in place and punish them. So maybe we'll see like better maneuvering from Mushi, as he does have a haste rune, but at least for now, he's just going to keep doing his thing. Static linking against Chessie, making it so he has the last hit with these 2 points of Nether Toxin, and Mushi in general taking the better end of the last hits, but only mildly.
Yeah, apart from the kills here in the mid lane, this is actually a very even lane in terms of last hits. Mushi is sitting on 19 to 9, with Chessie sitting on 17 to 8. Difference is minimal, but perhaps that is something that Extinct and Net can change, as they have smoked up. They've got mana up on the Skywrath Mage for both a slow and a nuke, or silence if you will. Let's see if they can make it happen. In they go. Slow comes in as well as the silence. Can they actually get the hoof stomp in? They're gonna try. They're gonna have to dive very far for this though. And Net is taking up the tower. Chessie is gonna get a return kill for that. Yes, they get the kill, but I'm not sure if that is entirely worth it. In the meantime, also on the bottom lane, it is a Venomancer that died, and because of all the supports rotating, nobody teleported in to his aid, and Venomancer ends up dying right underneath his tower.
Yep, so just a hard life for him. If he's under the tower completely, he won't be picked off because of the Venomous Gale. It pretty much prevents anybody from diving him, but in that circumstance, he was just pushed up a little bit. They're able to get the stun, slow combos on him, and it's enough to bring him down this once, but maybe he won't make the same mistake again. For now, it's going to be Tranquil Boots for him. 1-1-3 build, pretty standard in this possession, and even pre-clarity, so that he can just keep these Plague Wards up. He's scouting with them. He's just laying this kind of network of alarms where he knows when the enemy supports are rotating in, and he knows how far forward he can go on the lane.
Yeah, and on top of that, he's actually getting very decent levels as well. He's close to level 6. Admiral Bulldog also doing not too bad on the levels, is getting a bit more last hits compared to that Venomancer. But that's mostly because of those supports of the side of Team Malaysia just rotating and not being stacking or pooling anymore. And actually we've got KYXY went into the jungle rather than being on the top lane as well. There's some camp stack for him, so that's quite a bit of extra gold for him, but still leaving the top lane alone, which I personally like, because that way Nat can get actually some farm. He has got Tranquil Boots as well, and is just trying to sit around, get experience, and hopefully get some last hits that Admiral Bulldog leaves for him.
Yeah, level 2, level 3 Centaur isn't going to be able to do too much as far as roaming around. Their ganking surprise time is really over, and since KYXY can jungle, he definitely should, and give a little bit bit more for the team as a whole. But he is leeching a little bit from the mid lane, looking to stack up at the 52-second mark and try to kind of build up from there. He really needs to get the momentum off the stacks. Unfortunately, he's found a lot of mud golems recently. The 2 medium camps in the central part of the Dire jungle, completely nullifying the poof AoE damage, and it's just a hard knock life for him.
Yeah, we actually had Loda forced back from his lane, and not because he was close to dying, but purely because he was harassed so much by Ohio. His wall of wards, his net of wards, as we call it, is really paying off. He's just having a pretty okay time, and the supports, they can't be busy with that bottom lane all the time. Like right now, Misery and Bulldog are rotating into the jungle. Let's see what they're gonna find. They have got the roar. They're looking to use it, finding a target. Is it a Skywrath mate? Axis will fly out. They don't need the roar for it. That means they still have it if they should go for someone. Loda haunted in for that one as well. 4 people in the middle lane coming out for Alliance, as they will, well, I would say rotate for something with the roar. I'm surprised they didn't end up using it, and maybe they can still go for Mushi if they want. Who is, by the way, pretty safe because there is a first ward.
Yep, so he does see what's coming, but they're still rotating around very nicely. They're obviously showing that they want to take control of the enemy jungle, which is very important to do against Meepo, and they have the roar reserved essentially for the Meepo. Maybe the Razor's a high priority target enough to use the roar, but...
Ohio gets the roar in the face. Visage nukes him down.
Yeah, and that's going to tip Visage over to level 6 and actually really close to level 7. Catapults forward in experience there, and the Visage birds are going to be able to do so much work. You see Bulldog taking some hits under the tower, at least the drain from that static link. But Mushi, he doesn't want to die. He wants to build up his mechanism, and as such, there's no reason for him to get too aggressive in this position. He is kind of behind enemy lines, and he doesn't have any support coming for a long time. And in fact, honestly, I think this is the most passive I've seen Net and Extinct play in a very long time. Usually these two are supports that make things happen across the map, find gank opportunities, find pickoffs, but I mean their kill count is limited. What we saw from their Lion and Enchantress was kind of more of the same, and now down bottom, Mushi is in some trouble.
Look at the damage. With the minus armor coming out from Misery, the familiar is helping out. There was no way that he was going to make it out of there alive, and he is still fairly squishy. He has got the chainmail, which is nice and all that, but that extra armor is just nullified. Whoa, talking about supports. Aki is going to be picked off there by Extinct and Net, who did end up rotating to maybe make something happen, and they actually found a support. So good on them. What do you think is the reason for them being a bit more passive than what we are used to seeing from them? I mean, they have, of course, got different type of heroes, but we already saw that that combination is actually not really very weak. But perhaps
one thing is I kind of feel like they might be less comfortable fighting Western teams as far as knowing where they're going to position. Each kind of region develops its own little mini metagame as far as when people go forward in their lane, when they fall back, when they see smokes coming, and they perceive things a little bit differently. So maybe every time that they want to make a move, they expect a counter initiation that may or may not actually be possible, and the passivity is kind of forced out just because they're afraid of what they don't understand. So that's the best that I could come up with it from a psychological perspective, but at least in the first game, I think their heroes were gank ready enough. In the second game, obviously, the Centaur has its limitations.
Yeah. Although he is level 6 right now, so that will help a lot. And he's actually, I have to say, pretty close to getting his Blink Dagger. He's, of course, relieved from support duties by the Skywrath Mage, who is basically taking it up himself to get the wards and the upgraded courier and everything like that, so that Net can actually just purely focus on getting that Blink Dagger ready. But I really like this, because this is going to turn into a support that is going to be way more than a support. It's going to be your fourth core, if you will. It's looking to be pretty strong. They also took out the first tower of the game. The tier 1 bottom died, and Ohio showed no sign of getting away. In the meantime, middle lane, they're going to go for Jesse. He is going to live for the moment, but the Meepo chasing him down. The roar and the axes, though. Jesse lives. KYXY dies. Nice haunt coming in as well, and that was a stampede used for that even, so... Unfortunately, they lose and their global ultimate, which is not that long of a cooldown. Fair enough. They lose their safe lane farmer, and they get a kill to Loda, as we have Venomans are picked off by Ake, who was well, still around. Shouldn't have been. But
he kind of was sticking around, dropping some plate boards. He thought he could get involved in the last fight, and obviously that wasn't the case. Gets picked off 1v3. And they don't really have the survivability to deal with all these threats right now. The Visage is putting out a lot of damage. We're seeing the Wave of Terror combined with the axes more and more. And the cool thing is that now the wild axes are purely physical damage now. They're not composite anymore. So the Wave of Terror really does enhance their potential. And yeah, right now Alliance are taking this early game by storm 9-4. And although there is still some real potential with the Meepo carry, KOXY, he went for the Blink over the Aghanims, and this is the divergence of the two different Meepo builds. This one requires more activity from Meepo. It requires KOXY to make something happen with this Blink and to find a kill opening as a result of it.
Yeah, and to get some extra help from his team as well. And unfortunately, his initiation went on one of the tankiest targets of Alliance, and on top of that, Jesse did have the
Radiant
mechanism also, so
are fortified.
not the easiest. And he even had the Mystic Flare on top of that as well. He's
Radiant's
just
middle tower
very
is under
tanky, so
attack.
perhaps next time he'll find a more squishy target to initiate it upon. We do have Team Malaysia sitting middle with 4 heroes, 5
Radiant's top
heroes if
tower
you will,
is under attack.
or at least 1 Meepo is there. I'm not too sure what they're expecting to get out of this. Because they don't, like, they can try and wither down the tower, but that will take a little while. And if they're not going to be able to really initiate a fight, which I don't think they want to do right under the tower of the enemy team, they're wasting a lot of time on their heroes. And sharing all the experience to boot.
Yeah, they are buying time for KOXY to farm up a little bit on top. Obviously, he needs to move in towards more points in Divided We Stand and obviously the Aghanim Scepter long term. But at the same time, that gives Lotus space. He's got his Haunt up, so he doesn't have to be anywhere near the fight. This TP scroll is honestly just for defensive purposes. Doesn't need it to help out his team. And we're actually going to see potentially a clash here as the smoke breaks out.
Yeah, the roar coming out on X. He's already bursted down. Net is not going to make it out alive either. They're going to chase down Mushi, see if they have the speed. They don't. Or at least they don't think they do, so they're just going to go and try and take down mid instead. They are all together. They smoked up probably to try and gank up that Meepo that you were saying was having a free time on the top lane. But Team Malaysia was on the ball, tried to protect him, and then ended up running into the team of Alliance that had, of course, the high ground advantage, and Net couldn't really get the stomp off because he got stunned before that by the Vengeful Spirit, and then you can't do anything anymore.
Radiant's
Like,
top
you're
tower
completely
is
caught
under
off guard. Whoa. Careful there. KOXY getting a stun up. Meepo in some trouble, tries to poof out. Will be able to make it out alive. Poof's only a very short distance away, but it's still far enough to get out safely. Alliance to keep on holding on to their tower as well.
Yeah.
Radiant's middle tower is under
We do see
attack.
Alliance actually missing this ancient stack twice here. This isn't the biggest stack of creeps, so it's really just missed timing. Like, it's not like they're blocking each other too much because there's too many creeps involved. So gonna get a little bit less farm out of that, whoever decides to farm it up. Just kind of mechanical issue there. Maybe they're not used to such low ping on the lag on the land environment right now. Can't spit that out. But we do see on the top lane, KOXY is going to be going for this tower. The glyph was used earlier, so they're going to get a refresh, but they are going to be losing this tier 1 by the hands of Mushi's
No,
Razor.
misery.
Swap comes through once again, though, and they want KOXY.
Let's see if they can get him. He's going to try to poof out soon, but the roar comes out, and KOXY will end up dying. Aki might follow suit, though. He's in some trouble getting chased down,
Radiant's
but
middle tower
not
is
far
under
enough.
attack.
And that means that
Radiant
actually
structures
Skywrath
are
Mage's
fortified.
nuke still was flying after him, which was a projectile that we unfortunately could not see. Tier 1 tower mid gets
Radiant's
picked up by
middle tower
Venomancer
has
Wards, though,
fallen.
which is at least something that Team Malaysia gets in return for losing their core hero again.
Now, I have to say that Admiral Bulldog's initiations have been really on point here. Now he has the Blink Dagger on top, and we saw it used there, but essentially every time he goes for a roar, he gets a kill with it. Reserves it when he doesn't need it, but when it comes down to it, always finds the right target to single out, and it's just paints a target on the back of whoever he roars. They want to kill him before the roar expires, and every single time so far this game, they've accomplished just that. So great decision-making, great timing, and showing the strength of this hero that hasn't really been that popular in the metagame for quite some time.
Yeah, in the meantime, this Venomancer is actually having quite a decent impact. He's not been involved in any kills, don't get me wrong. But he picked up a Blink Dagger now as well. Will probably pick up a point in his ultimate at level 9, which he will turn into soon. But what he is doing is basically keeping all the waves pushed out. So when Alliance does win a fight, they don't get anything off the back of it. They have not been able to take down any towers. On top of that, Team Malaysia has been able to take 2 already, or 3 rather. No tier 1 towers left standing on the side of Alliance. And Ohio is just basically the one to continuously make sure that Alliance can't get anywhere with the advantages they gain.
They're looking for KOXY up top here. They don't have the Hawks to scout it, though, but they see the smoke break. They know somebody's on the other side, and they will get the swap. They will get the stun, and they will bring down KOXY once again. So this gives a free pass to be aggressive on the tier 2 bottom, since the TP response will be delayed. Fortification is back up as they've taken all 3 tier 1s down, but essentially we're looking at a tier 2 for tier 1 trade with a possible counter initiation from Alliance if Chessie delays long enough.
Not sure if he can do that though. It's kind of scary. There is a blink dagger on the centaur and he is not afraid to use it. The tier 1 tower top does end up dropping. Let's see if Alliance will go bottom to see if they can defend this. It won't be an easy fight if they choose to, and it looks like they're just gonna give it up.
Blink on net as well as Ohio makes it a very hard position to engage upon, and they'll just take fights on their terms, as I have been doing all game long. Some good smoke movement, some great target fire, and they're building up their forces now. Ake is rapidly approaching his level 11, as well as being halfway to the Aghanim Scepter, so he's going to have a lot going for him. And Loda, he's half of the recipe away from the full Radiance here at only the 18.5-minute mark.
Yeah, it's kind of fun to see because I mentioned during the draft that, you know, I'm not personally a fan of Spectre because he's normally a kind of passive, kind of carry type. However, Loda has been involved. He's been involved in 7 out of the 13 kills, and still he has just gone for the Radiance. That's Meepo down once again. That's actually... Like, Meepo is a hero that once he has his Aghanims and he's level 16, he's still going to be having a big impact, but this way he's not going to reach level 16 until it might be too late already. Yeah.
And there's a lot of people that like to look at the fact that Divided Wasteland reduces your death timer and say, okay, it's not a big deal, Meepo will be right back into it. But honestly, just the fact that he's already level 12, he's feeding a lot of experience back the way of Alliance, and that's going to allow them to build up their ultimates, get more range of initiation on the Venge pretty soon, and in general, they just get more time for Loda to do his thing. He's played so darn well these past couple games as far as just getting the farm at the right time to build up and out-carry anybody on the side of Team Malaysia. So we'll see him finish up the Radiance very shortly. I don't think Ohio will have any way to contest that just here down on the bottom lane. And with that Radiance comes a whole new level of farm for him.
Yeah, very scary for Team Malaysia. Again, they're fighting up against one of those time bomb heroes. We saw them in the previous game not able to carry out their plan, and of course this time they're looking to change it. They have got some very strong late game heroes as well, don't get me wrong, but none is, I believe, as hard of a carry as that Spectre is. Yes, they can take down Spectre, but everything has to fall together perfectly. I'm talking like late game, and they have to hope of about some Alliance misplays as well, and that's gonna get tricky.
Yeah, definitely. You look at KOXY, he's now built up close to the Aghanim Scepter, but here at the 20.5-minute mark, he still doesn't have it. We're going to see the Hawk come out.
Mushi, roared up, might have a haste rune, but you can't run if you're roared. And dies.
Yeah. Just too much to deal with there, and they're going to be able to take the tier 1 off that pretty easy. Ohio, like you were mentioning, will be able to keep pressure down on the bottom lane, but he's not taking the tower anytime soon, and Alliance have all the space in the world just to control the map to keep doing what they're doing. Top lane might be a different story. They have fortification, and they do need to look to contest that at the least.
Yeah, they are trying to create space. Ohio is still doing what he does. I really am liking the way he's playing this Venser. I said it earlier already, but I want to just point it out again. He is just really one of the space creator for his team, and it sounds so corny. I also love this observer ward that he has up on the high ground here. Offers a lot of vision, and it allows Ohio to basically stand here, and should Alliance push out this bottom lane, Ohio can still sit in the jungle. They now know where he is, though. I mean, you know, that happened. He's gonna teleport out, and Misery realized that as well. So, but next time they will see it if he sits in the jungle. If he doesn't reveal his positioning by placing wards like he just did. Damn it! He made my point on moot.
But the big thing here is that Venge is still level 10. If she was level 11, that would have been a swap on the TP. That would have been the death of the Venomancer. But for now, he's able to at least pull shenanigans as long as he sees the Visage Familiars coming. I mean, the Roar Blink is also a potential threat, but we see Bulldog is focused on farm right now. He's like stacking up those Ancients. Really wants to take those down in a timely manner so that side of Team Malaysia don't have the chance to steal it. But they're just going to be stealing another resource off the map here. The biggest neutral creep of them all, Roshan, is taking some hits, but they don't feel very confident in it. Like, Meepo is usually one of those heroes that takes Rosh very easily, but they don't have a mech on him or the Vlads. They have the mech on Mushi, but he's not involved in the pit. So, all in all, KYXY is going to call it quits, and Rosh will just regen up.
Yeah, and now we see the results of all the rotations that Aki has been able to make. He's got 7 out of the 15 kills, and I actually mean last hits because he's been involved in 11 of them. He's very, very rich. He's got his Aghanims, which is faster than the one on the Razor. Now, fair enough, Razor did end up going for mech, but he's also the solo mid hero, and it's starting to get out of control. Let's see if they can kill off Ohio though, because it looks like they finally want to end his. Yeah, there they go. The swap is there. The Gale comes out still, but it doesn't matter. Ohio will go down. They waited for that. They baited him out. And they're able to execute it perfectly.
Yep. Wave of Terror now puts Blink Dagger on cooldown, so it's a really good way of just locking down the opponent, making sure that they can't escape from that situation, and making his life difficult. He's not going to be able to pull the same shenanigans time and time again. We will see the Tier 2 most likely pressured by Team Malaysia. I've said that a couple times, but now they see the hard commitment down to the bottom Tier 1, and they should see an opening on that top tower.
Yeah, unless they really want to defend it, which is something that they might do. They still have the fortification. They haven't used it yet. We do have Net rotating bottom, and he is going to get joined by KYXY on his Meepo. Fortification comes out now. I don't think they can fight it though. They're seeming a bit too late. In also comes a Venomancer. Yeah, it's too late. Too little too late. There's now 4 people on this bottom lane. And they won't get anything because everybody already left, so that is a lot of rotations coming out without getting that tier 2 top, which, as you mentioned, they could have already tried to make it go on that one. Maybe not even taking it down completely, but at least like getting it down to half. But no, they ended up wasting quite a bit of time for nothing.
Yeah, I kind of feel like it's a low-risk movement, too, because they have the Stampede to disengage if worse comes to wear. I mean, they have potential to chip that tower down very quickly, and they all can move at a very quick speed if, obviously, the Alliance look to respond to it. But they're really shaking right now. They are uneasy. They know that they're one mistake away from losing this game and thus losing the match, putting them in the lower bracket. So they're playing this very cautiously. They're just trusting in KYXY that he'll be able to build up his farm gradually. But for right now, his net worth is only even with the Razors, and they need so much more out of him.
Yeah, they need a lot more time. Downside is, if Malaysia is getting time, also means that Loda is getting time, which is, yeah, scary. He hasn't died yet. He's 207. He has his Yasha, and he's just happily farming away. It's late game control in one hero, and it's for Malaysia. They're delaying the game, and you just pointed out exactly why they should be doing that, and that's a good thing. But they have to be wary that they have to find a way to lock that Spectre down at some point.
Yeah,
they do have a lot of disables, I guess, but I'm not sure if that's enough because there's more disables on the side of Alliance.
Definitely. As far as just a raw initiation potential there. But it's actually interesting what way the Viper is going to be going now. Chesty looked to be building up the Aghanim Scepter originally, but he's got a couple of Ring of Regens, as well as the Cloak on the Courier. He wanted the opponents to think that he was going for the Axe, or maybe he intended to, but has changed his mind to move towards that Pipe of Insight, and when he gets it, there is a huge amount of potential survivability against Ohio's initiation, and he has yet to pick up his own Aghanims.
Yeah, it's 1k gold away, or 1100 gold away, if you will. He is one of the heroes that is farming really well on the side of Team Malaysia. That will have a gigantic impact until that pipe comes out. Because that's when it's starting to get scary again. However, Team Malaysia realized that something needs to be done. They're going to try and take out a tier 2. Have to be careful to not trade a Roshan for a tier 2 tower. This is not a game where I think that would be worth doing. I'm not sure if Alliance wants to actually go for that or just go for a tower of their own. It seems like going for a tower of their own is going to be the way to go here. They have all 5 heroes in the bottom half of the map. They already lost their own tower though. Teleport back from Vengeful Spirit, who is back in the base of Alliance. Get some help now also from Admiral Bulldog teleporting in. Mushi has got that Aghanim, so that Eye of the Storm is gonna kick in. And meantime, bottom lane, initiation goes on. Net teleporting in, or rather stampeding in, ends up getting the kill on Loda and lives to tell the tale. Aki cannot teleport out, gets Earthbound, and goes down. His birds They are gonna live, but it's still not ideal. It's 2 for 1, and they finally get that Spectre.
Yeah, spreading across the map, and the tier 2 tower will still stand. Yeah, that's a huge kill, honestly, because just the net worth that he's been accruing throughout this entire game, it's going to rubber band them back very hard. The 6.82 patch is real. Now the fight recap finally shows up. Spectre loses 450, Meepo gains 638, and as a whole, their team gained 1,000 out of that pickoff. Now, they have the option of denying the tower, but for now, it's going to be the familiars that KYXY is focusing. A couple of stone forms coming out, but all in all, he's just kind of spreading himself across the map. 2 in mid, a couple on bottom, and just trying to find secure ways to find farm before he jumps into the pit, as we do see him kind of perched just above.
Yeah, I think he missed his jump. I'm not sure if that was
Maybe
intended, but...
Could also be where he thinks the familiars might be flying,
This is
and
true.
they very frequently fly over the tree lines, so maybe gets lucky with a ground A-click at command and might be able to just completely destroy 2 or 3 of them.
Yeah. Well, Roshan for now, again, unbothered. Yeah, Alliance not getting that tier 2 on bottom lane. A pretty big setback, and I mentioned in the previous game, these type of setbacks, I think have a big psychological impact, because it just shows. Look at how careful Alliance is positioning themselves. They're all around mid. They're not planning on taking a fight. They're just wanting to delay the game and give Loda farm. But they also don't want to be out by themselves, because they are afraid of actually dying when they do. Perhaps they are going for a smoke here. Yeah, thank you. So they do group up 0-5 in the end. But it's scary, because they know something needs to change, and if they do not win the next fight with this smoke, things are completely evened out again, and I would actually say maybe in favor of Team Malaysia at that point. So
Yeah, it's very scary, and at this point, any Dota game could be on a knife's edge. But this one, they feel pretty confident with the Pipe of Insight and the Roar onto KOXY. They should be able to take this one.
Yeah, well, Admiral Bulldog is going to be the first target to go down. He did get his roar off, however. Skywrath Mage, squishy on the back end, gets picked up. Same thing goes for Net, and KYXY will be the next target. Mushi down, and down they go. It seemed like Team Malaysia, after nuking down Admiral Bulldog, they had no oil left to burn. And they just ended up running around dying. Of course, that is from my point of view, because there is still the connectivity issues to the Perfect World server from my end, making all the spells come out a bit later than they're actually casted. But it seemed like they were running around like headless chickens after Bulldog went down.
Yeah, just about. I mean, obviously they try to focus their right clicks from the Meepo onto a single target, but he just got focused too hard by the Nether Toxin of the Viper, as well as just some good damage all around from Alliance. They knew that Ohio was doing his split push play down at bottom because the Radiant Observer Ward that's in the bottom lane, it's going to expire very shortly, but it gave them some valuable intel that Ohio was just doing his split push thing, and it was going to take him a while to TP to the tier 2, run all the way to the fight, and try to contribute. So they just went in knowing the pipe would be enough to nullify any magic damage minus the Venomancer, and they were able to make it with minimal losses. Bulldog will fall, but like you said, he accomplished what he needed to in that fight.
Yep. However, Alliance, they might get the tier 2 on the top lane after that fight, but they're not going to get the Roshan. This time Team Malaysia is going on that one, and no contest coming out from Alliance. So Meepo will take out the Aegis. Next fight for Alliance won't be so easy. I don't think there will be a next fight soon. Of course, this was a smoking from Alliance, basically to reassert their dominance over this game and get the control back. And for now, they're happy farming again for the moment.
So KOXY's got an Ultimate Orb stocked up, and that means one of two things. It's either a Hex or a Scotty. One gives HP, one gives the lockdown that you were mentioning they don't really have right now. Which would you prefer to see?
I think Scythe of Ice.
Okay.
I think that's going to be the best. They need some pick-up potential. Slow-wise, I mean, they've got the Venomancer for that, and it's not like Alliance is trying to run away from them, because they can just stand there and kill them instead, and I think the control is a gigantic issue for them. But I guess time will tell.
We'll have to see. I still think the Meepo is a little squishy, but you know, you have to take it one step at a time. You have to get 1 foot in the right direction. If they build the Hex and immediately get a pickoff with it, it's paid for at least half of its own price by itself, and he can start making his way towards a harder Tarrasque, which would give him the durability that he really needs. But speaking of harder Tarrasque, we're going to be seeing Loda build it up very soon. Went for the casual Yasha pickup after the Radiance, but now has gone back for the VIP booster, and I think he wants to go all in for that heart. Build up the HP, make those haunt illusions just survive for their full duration, and of course make it very difficult for him to be picked off.
What does the Beastmaster say when he gets the bounty rune?
Yeah, I was listening to that. I was like, what in the world? Usually they just use a last hit sound file, but that was a very unique one. I have no idea.
I was like, what am I hearing? And then like,
It's like a trumpet.
yeah, it was a bit like a trumpet. Stampede, they are initiating in mid lane. They want to go on Chessie, not an easy target, but with everybody there, they should be able to take it down. And this time, no kill return. Mechanism comes out for net just in case. But it is a good pick off. Stampede used for that worth. And let's see if they can get something off the back of this fight, because they have no intention of stopping by the looks of things.
Yeah, just can kind of build off of that and find an opportunity. Obviously, with the Aegis there, there's a lot to be gained in this position, and they do have plenty of heroes to right-click with. With all the clones coming in, the Hex now available on him, they can turn this 5v4 into a 5v3, but the buyback and the initiation.
Yeah, in the meantime, Misery is fighting net, but we're watching the other part of the fight where Chessie is back. He just popped back, and he is sitting in the midst of all the damage, ends up going down again. Maybe the Aegis at least gets burnt. That is the case, but it's just an Aegis. Roar comes out to make sure Razor doesn't teleport out, and it is gonna be KYXY dying for the second time. There he goes. Want to point out that the fight that we missed, the fight that I jumped away from, the Vengeful Spirit versus Centaur, Vengeful Spirit came out ahead, so good on him. Venomancer was the one to make it out alive. Ended up not even being there, I think. Was he not there at all?
I don't believe so. He's been doing this play down on bottom lane the whole time, and he really hasn't committed to a full fight despite having the Aghanims for some while. I like you said, I like the fact that he was doing it earlier to put pressure on the lanes, but now that he has the Axe farmed up, I'd rather see him in the fight. Maybe he feels the Pipe of Insight is a little bit too strong for him to counteract, but I don't know. Without him, they certainly don't stand a chance. They will go for the Stampede, the Poison Nova play, but Bulldog didn't get hit by either of those. So unless they stop this Venge TP, no, she gets out and barely survives in the fountain. Or does she? No, she'll die in the fountain. But Bulldog is the one to be pursued.
And that's a gem back. They also end up, actually, Chessie was still dead. Vengeful Spirit's still dead in the fountain, which is quite the shame, but...
Yeah, she was actually like healing from the fountain for about 4 seconds straight. Like... Yeah. It was very gradual, but the poison was just out DPSing it just by a tiny bit.
Well, there's a gem back in the hands of Team Malaysia. They do end up losing their tier 2 tower. It did not get denied. The Visage Familiars were able to take that down. Means there's just one tower left standing on the side of Team Malaysia, and it's a tower that is in the nade range for a long time now. 64 health, but Team Malaysia, even though I think they're aware of this, I mean, you gotta assume they're aware of this, they're still holding onto the tower.
Yeah, the longer they keep the gold out of the hands of Alliance, the better. But obviously, if they're risking too much from it being alive, they need to take care of it very, very quickly. The only reason that you would actually, other than keeping gold off the table, the only reason that you wouldn't deny a tower that is deniable outside the base is if, I theorized after this earlier, is the tier 1 towers. If you could leave those up for like a 50 to 60 minute base race situation, you can actually deny your own tower, reset fortification, and glyph your more important towers when the base race comes through. But, you know, otherwise, yeah, they should just probably take that off the table. That only works for tier 1s, and yeah, this tier 2 has stood long enough. It's going to be picked off if they let it stand any longer. But I don't know. In this position, it might be the least of their concerns. This Spectre is getting huge. She got that Ultra Kill out of that last big team fight. She actually got the last on that Centaur with the Venge Centaur 1v1 just with her Haunt, and she just does so much work in the midst of these engagements.
Yeah, and also, I mean, there's a side of Ice up on the Meepo, which is great. But you kind of have to wait with using that on the Spectre until the hunt is over, which is normally the way for a Spectre to get into a fight if she's not there already. So if they don't get the jump on Spectre, they won't be able to fight her until they know which one is the real one. Which sometimes can take some time, and time, well, that's a lot of damage coming out from their Spectre. But I do like the Scythe of Ice pickup. I mean, as already mentioned, just offers a bit more control and a bit more gankability as well, which is... Meepo is actually a really strong hero in terms of ganking. They're gonna go in here though, roaring it up on the Ohio. Venomancer, who gets 4 staff back, is gonna end up dropping as the first one. They're gonna continue on to KYXY, who's trying to poofing out. Razor can't poof out. Nice stun from Net, but it's just a delay. The team of Alliance to chase down KYXY. He will end up giving his life for that one. They will finally take this 64 health tower. Took them some time. Alliance has not lost a single hero of themselves. They still have the double damage rune of the Viper, which is about to take out, but they're gonna see if they can go high ground. They get a buyback up on the Venomancer at least.
I kind of feel like they should just fall back for Roche. If they feel they can go for the Rex, that's great, but Meepo looks to try to contest this, and one misstep, and this could be a huge colossal throw right back the other way. They will go for the Ranger X first, it's the easy one, but Roche should be so easy right now. With all the tier 2s down, there's no way for them to teleport and contest it. Stampede's also down for 30, but they feel like if it is the Rax, KYXY has something to say about that.
Yeah, well, KYXY can't say anything anymore. He ends up going down very fast. Same thing goes for the Skywrath Mage, and I'm not sure why everybody's just walking in like this and dying.
It's the GG. It's the tap out. They really don't have much more against it. Like, without the ultimates, I really thought that a 3-man movement had a chance to get a couple of key pickoffs and, you know, maybe only to lose the one lane, but at that point, the way they approached that, the timing wasn't there, the respawns weren't with them, and they knew that they'd been losing this game rather, since like the 15-minute mark when Loda just got too much farm. So in the end, he's 8-1-16, his GPM's 544, and Alliance take a 2-0 victory over Team Malaysia.
Yeah, Team Malaysia though, not all hope is gone just yet. They are dropped to the lower bracket, as this is a double elimination best of 3 bracket. Of course, you are watching the WCA LAN finals in China, which is also why we're having some connectivity issues to our China servers. And on top of that, unfortunately, the internet in the BTS house is out, meaning that both Blaze and myself will bring you a ghetto cast until they have things working up again. Follow Blaze at BlazeCasting on Twitter, myself on @Sheever Gaming on Twitter, and I believe you said earlier that we're going to jump straight into a different game? Or what's the plan?
I believe so. The schedule is very packed with best of 3s back to back, and there were some simultaneous games earlier, but I believe now it's all strung out. So Vici Gaming versus IG should be pretty soon, but we'll have more information very shortly, guys.
Okay, then we'll be right back. Stick around, guys.